Hey everyone, thank you for joining me here on Retro Geek Gaming, where we talk about stuff that is retro geek and gaming related, and to my side, or diagonal, or front, or bottom, wherever he's got me, is of course my good buddy Michael, the otherwise known as Deuce Does Wrestling. Make sure you go check out his channel if you have not seen us already, where we sometimes do live watches of wrestling program. How are you today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Heading into my weekend, no more work. So, that's about as good
Yeah,
as it
my
gets.
weekend Yeah, my weekend is ending, so I'll be going back tomorrow. Of course, you know all that.
That's
But
about as bad as it gets.
yeah. But otherwise, thank you guys for joining us here on another retro rewind. We have not done this in a while, so I appreciate you joining me
Yeah, of
and
course.
just agreeing to do this because we always have a good time. I think whenever we talk, and
Definitely.
it just seems like we don't really get the chance to do as much as we'd like. So.
Right. Yep. Happy to be here.
But anyways, guys, at any point in time in the well, I guess it's a podcast, not really a live stream. Just feel free to shoot your comments, but anything that we have to talk about in the comments down below, give us a like, and of course subscribe to my channel too, if you like this content. So we'll go ahead and get started with the same stuff that we always seem to start with this channel. What are we playing at this time? What are you playing? Anything in particular?
I'm actually about to pick up and start playing. Well, I already own it. Final Fantasy VII remake, because I
Oh,
know
the remake.
here in a few weeks or 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, we get Rebirth. So I'm actually
Yeah,
very curious, and I'm gonna try to run through it over the next couple weeks because I haven't played it. I've played about an hour or two of it, but never finished it. Life took over, but I think I'm gonna really dedicate myself and try to get through it so that I could get Rebirth at launch. Um, so yeah, I'm about to start playing that. But what I've been playing is Cyberpunk 2077 still, and the
ooh,
Phantom Liberty expansion.
how is that? Are you enjoying that?
It's incredible, man. I really think that they've made a lot of great strides towards improving the game and fixing it. It basically feels like it is now what it should have been. Uh, Fantastic story. The progression system was overhauled and it feels amazing. The skill system and all that was overhauled, so it's really good. It's extremely immersive. It's running like a charm on my Series X.
And that's good to hear because I have been thinking about picking that one up. Um, there's just so much to play and so much to get to that I don't know what I'm going to play next. But I'm jumping around a lot. Like I went back to Destruction All Stars on my PS5, something that I thought was a dead game, but I managed to find some players and I kind of got back into it. I've also been doing what was it? It was called Trace Memories when it initially came out on the DS, but now it's like a remake on the Switch, and it's called oh, another code, another code recollection, which is basically the DS remake of the game, and then the Wii port of the game that was in Japan that never came over here to the US. So I've been
Okay.
jumping around between that and Evo Oasis on the 3DS. So I've been kind of jumping around, so nothing really in particular is holding my attention at the point. But I am looking forward to playing quite a bit. So with that in mind, what is coming up? Are there any sequels or any games that have been announced recently that have caught your attention that you're sort of looking forward to?
I actually just pulled that up. Um, the upcoming game. So we got Rebirth coming, of course. I mentioned that a little bit. I'm looking forward to that. I've been seeing a lot of content about Helldivers 2. I don't know if you've been seeing that too, but I'm hearing that it's a very, very good live service game. It's getting a lot more praise than I've noticed other live service games getting. So that's something that I might be interested in. It just released 2 days ago, PC and PS5. Are you interested in that one? Have you seen anything about it?
I've seen a lot of it. Uh, Probably not.
Not
Live
for
service
you.
games, yeah, live service has to be very particular for me to play it. Um, But otherwise, no, I don't think I'm interested in it, man. I'm sorry. I checked it out. It's all over my feeds and stuff, my social media feeds. But I just don't think I'm interested in it.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of positive reviews and a lot of positive content about it, but then the game clips that I see, it just seems kind of like a wave based defense game. The environments look kind of bland. So I'm not entirely sure where everyone's finding the value in it. That's why I would be interested to check it out because from what I've seen, it doesn't look good, but what I'm hearing, it's great. So that leaves me curious like, okay, I've never really
Maybe it's
been
got
a
an
live
awesome story.
service guy. Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's got some good stories. Plus, maybe just getting in there with some friends is really what it's all about and what these people are having fun with.
Well, oh yeah, because I mean, you know my hesitation when it came to the Baldur's Gate 3 until I actually got my hands on it and played it. Um, and even seeing gameplay of it, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not really into the whole turn-based strategy. But now I ended up loving it. I ended up loving that series. It's actually taking me back to like turn-based RPGs and stuff that I never thought I was going to get back into just because I got annoyed by them. So that could be it. Maybe it's just the way it's doing live service games is so refreshing and new that everybody's just like, oh, we love it. Maybe that's
Right,
all that
yeah.
it is. Because I wouldn't think that I would have liked Baldur's Gate 3 from what I initially saw of it. I had to actually get my hands on it. So
Yeah, we I don't
looking
think we've
forward to
done
hearing
a
more about it.
I don't think we've done a podcast since you finished either of us finished Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's been that long.
It probably. I don't think. I think this is the first one of this year. Actually, I don't think we've done one at all since last year. So
Yeah, or middle of I think April of 2023 maybe or something like that was our last one.
something. Has it really been that long?
I don't know
Jeez.
how time is going by that fast, man.
I guess it's just adults. You know, you get busy with work and everything else, and managing a household, and before you know it, 20 years of your life have flown by. I
Yep,
guess I don't know.
agreed. But as far as other games coming up, Alone in the Dark is coming in March.
I
That
thought that was already out.
looks like I'm seeing it for PC, PS5, and Series X on March 20th.
Huh. There was an Alone in the Dark remake that came out in like no, October, or November, but maybe it got pushed
I
back.
think maybe it did because I'm showing that it's got pushed. So that one's got me a little
Yeah,
curious. And then
the
Dragon's
demo of that was good.
Dogma 2. And I know you haven't always been the biggest RPG guy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm interested in Dragon Dogma though.
Yeah, definitely. Did you play the first one?
I had not because I wasn't into it at the time, but now that I am, I'm probably gonna go back and do like what you're talking about, and maybe just push through the first couple of ones because I think there's two of them, and then pick up two.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you definitely got time to do that. I don't know, man. We're in that time of year where the games that are coming out aren't huge. Typically February and March are slower. But I
yeah,
think Final Fantasy is going to carry us. We got Stellar Blade coming out in April for
that's definitely
PS5.
on good. That's definitely on my list. Yes, that game looks spectacular. I was blown away by how it looked. The gameplay looks like it's up my alley because I like that kind of action near kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah,
and so
the
that's definitely on there.
the visuals for that game look incredible.
And then otherwise, I'm not sure of anything else that's coming out because that was pretty much what caught my attention. Other than I think it was Exodus, the game that has Matthew McConaughey in it. That was very interesting. But who knows when that game's even going to come out? So until we know more for sure about these games that are going to come out, I think for right now, Stellar Blaze got my attention. I'm probably going to pick up. It's more of a puzzle game, but it's got me interested. I'm probably going to pick up the Donkey Kong versus Mario
Okay.
um, remake, and yeah, that's pretty much going to be it.
Well, what was your game of the year for 2023?
Oh, See, I just have to agree with the Game Awards. I'm sorry. I mean, it's Baldur's Gate. I mean, I've played so many games. I've gone back and I did Spider-Man 2, and I really liked Spider-Man 2, and I've done, a lot of these games. I even want to do Alan Wake 2 at some point, but I might save that for like a Halloween kind of thing.
Yep.
But I think it was Baldur's Gate, just because there was something about that game. I don't think I've dropped so many hours into a PlayStation game as I did that game. Like, usually if I'm putting 100 hours, more than 100 hours into a game, it's something like a Minecraft or an Animal Crossing that's just infinite, or it's a Zelda game that I can just like Tears of the Kingdom. I put over 100 hours into. For
Right,
example.
right.
There's usually not too many games that are like that. There's like, yeah, let's just keep playing forever, and I only did like 2 endings. I didn't do a whole lot. There's still so many halves that I'm almost intimidated to go back to it.
Yeah,
I think it was Baldur's Gate, certainly.
definitely. That's my game of the year as well for 2023. I mean, I put 150 hours into my first playthrough. I feel like I clicked on everything, talked to everyone, and saw all the content, and then I go onto YouTube and see other people's playthroughs, and I'm seeing stuff that I didn't see, and I'm saying, how? I literally searched every corner of the world. I clicked on every character there was to talk to, and I still somehow missed a ton of content. Or maybe it was just that my choices led to some of that content being different. That's what the beauty of that game is, and I want to go back in as a dark urge. I've actually been getting the urge to download it again now that it's been roughly, what, 6 months? It's been about 6 months since my last playthrough ended, so I want to do a dark urge run.
They've added in a significant amount of content also. I think they've added in a whole new mode, like an honor mode or something. So, at least I think I saw some kind of update on there about that. So, going to be fascinating stuff. I definitely want to try it again, just because I think you're right. I probably talked to everybody just in Act 1 alone. I didn't want to leave Act 1. I'm just like, I don't want to leave it. Because I'm so worried I'm going to miss something. And somehow, I missed something. I missed a whole side quest of tieflings, apparently. And there was like somebody in a town that I went to who was a prisoner. I didn't even see them.
Right.
Like, there was just so much stuff that I missed. And then I get to the tower or whatever in Act 2, and I told you about it. How there's supposed to be people in the prison camps that are down in the basement. There was no one there.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I missed content. But just the fact alone of just like I was able to talk a boss into killing himself was just like, this is why I love this game. The fact that I convinced the boss of like, hey, your motives are completely incorrect, and by your own logic, you shouldn't even be doing what you're doing. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. Just,
yeah, I feel like I kind of cheaped out on my first playthrough because I reloaded so much. You know, when I didn't get the results that I wanted, I would save scum and go back and reload a save until I got the 20 or whatever the difficulty check was for my roll. You know, I kind of played it. I kind of played it the way you're not supposed to play it. Part of me regrets it, and part of me wishes I would have just allowed the dice to completely control the game. But I didn't, because I wanted to not miss out on any content. So, like, the first time I came across Gale, you know, and his arm sticking out of the rock. You see the portal, and then his arm comes out of the rock. I failed, immediately reloaded, just to see what it was, who it was, and ended up being a companion. So stuff like that could have drastically changed my playthrough. And
oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I lost out on a companion. I think his name was Saz or something, just because that elf lady that you encounter in Act 2, who's supposed to like talk him out of it or whatever, and he realizes that he's working with a fake. She died like during the fight, the whole fight in the Dark Tower. She ended up dying, so I lost her as a companion, and as a result, I lost another person who would have been a companion. I ended up fighting him. So I mean, it's very much possible that just because you made a choice somewhere, that you could have easily have strayed out of your path.
Yeah.
But I let my dice pretty much just go however. So,
However it went, yeah.
and I think whenever I do play again, it's going to be more probably. I try to play as pretty straight and narrow as I could. I try to be pretty good and try to convince people. Except for when, of course, I was talking to, I forgot what they called them, but basically people that were under the mind flailers influence, and so they thought I was one of them. Then I tried to be all like, "Yes, the great Lord says that I come and I need you to do." Then I try to play it, in the character like I would. I'd be like,
Right.
"I'm the character playing a character," but otherwise, I think next time it's going to be pure evil. It's like, "No, I'm actually not under his influence. I'm just coming to kill you." I'm like,
I'll
I
tell
don't
you
know.
what though, whatever Larian's next game is automatically my most anticipated game of all time. Because I
Oh
think
yeah,
going forward with this as their, if it's going to be another large scale RPG like this and they're going to build off of what they've learned and just make it bigger and better, whatever they do next is probably going to be one of the greatest experiences anyone's ever had. That's where I'm
I
at with
would
expectations.
I would imagine with how well they did with it, I would not be surprised if they continue to have a deal with Wizards of the Coast to keep the Dungeons and Dragons content and make a Baldur's Gate 4. Like that would just be great.
Yes.
But I mean, even if they don't, they can go back with to the Divinity series.
Yep.
Like I still haven't picked up Divinity yet, just because I want to play more of that Lyrian experience, like you're
Oh
talking about.
man, Original Sin 2 is an absolute masterpiece as well.
Yeah, I've got it on wish list. I'm waiting for it to pop up and it's like this is on sale. It's like okay, cool, download. Um, and then of course I'll probably just ring you up and like, hey, do you wanna
That
go through this
I've
together?
got it on PS5, Series X, and PC, and tablet. So yes, I do want to play it.
But have they done? I don't know if they've updated it yet. Have they done with Baldur's Gate the option to do crossplay yet? So like people could play together.
I don't know. I don't think so. I let's look into that. So let's see. Baldur's Gate 3. I know they got cross saves.
Yeah.
It says crossplay functionality between PC, PlayStation, Xbox is a priority for Larian Studios and may be implemented in 2024. So that may be something that's coming this year.
Cool. Because then you and I could probably go through and play it again together, and just go through and we can just make choices together. We can debate about okay, what are we going to tell this person right now, and we can just do voice chat and maybe just go through the game together.
Dude, that would be
It could
amazing.
be on.
I've genuinely considered buying it for PS5 because you have it on PS5, right? That's the console you got it on. Yeah, so that's I might just buy it either way.
I mean, the good part is that it won't really matter for you because, like you said, they have cross saves. So if nothing else, you can just bring over your PC data anyway, and
Yeah.
you'll still get all the relevant trophies for it. Just because they'll go, oh, you did this ping, you did this ping, you did this ping, and they'll just give you all the relevant trophies anyway. So it's like you didn't. It's like you played it on PS5 the whole time anyway.
Yep. Definitely, man. So that's the game of the year for both of us. I think anybody that played it would pretty much agree that's the game of the year. I think the people that were against it were the ones who maybe didn't play it or just aren't RPG fans, turn-based fans. But I think it
Yeah,
turned. I think it turned a lot of people. It turned. I know it kind of influenced the way you feel about that genre, that
hmm
turn-based, top-down kind of tactical RPG. And there's some good ones that came out, man. There's a Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader just came out for PC. That's something that's very interesting to me that I would like to pick up. It's another very story driven, choice driven tactical RPG similar to that. It's not going to have the production value, but it's going to have the depth of the combat system and the storytelling. So that's something that I'm really interested in getting. I don't know. I don't know if
yeah,
that's
because that was the main thing that drew me in was just because I don't know. I think you and I had this discussion at one point also. I just like the companion stuff. Like a game that I remember that was really cool with the whole companion um, choices and how you spoke with them. I know the big one was Mass Effect,
Right.
but one of the ones that I played, um, oh, why can't I think of what it's called right now? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, I played it on the PS3, and basically you could just, you could end up romancing this character, becoming good friends with this person, and they'll like sacrifice and all that. It was really interesting the way they did that. But that's always interested me, especially when you can do those games like Detroit Become Human, where you interact with people, and your choices affect that relationship and that path that you take. That's what drew me into Baldur's Gate was hearing about like, oh, you can do this and talk to anybody and romance people and make companionships and change the story. It's like that was really interesting in me. The main opposition was the gameplay because I saw it. It seemed so intimidating. Cause like I don't know, like just hours in a fight, like just dedicating hours to a fight. It's not even the final boss. Just like a random werewolf, bugbear, something in the woods. It was just like I don't know if I want to do that, but when I got into the midst of it, I'm just like I get it, and I think that's what it is. Is the people, like you said, that maybe were opposed to it being in a game of the year didn't really give it a try. I mean, I understand Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is a great game. I still had a lot of fun with it. I platinumed that game. I platinumed all the Spider-Man games. But compared to when you're done with the story, you're done with the story, and all you can really do is just web through the city and maybe fight criminals. But
Right.
once you've done all the achievements or the trophies, depending upon I know Baldur's Gate probably isn't on Xbox yet, but so I'll mostly just say trophies. But when you get all the trophies in Spider-Man 2, for an example, you're pretty much done. Like you what side quest can you do? You can just do some random crimes or whatever. That's about it. But with Baldur's Gate, it's literally like, okay, choice A was cool, and that was 200 hours of content. Let's reload back and now do choice B and
Right.
do another 200. And that's where I mean that's why even was kind of even like I was kind of biting my tongue a little bit because like I really wanted to be Tears of the Kingdom, but I cannot. I can't go against Baldur's Gate because like even when Tears of the Kingdom story and it's like okay cool you got side quests and you've got collectibles you can find. There's so much to do, but when you find all of them, you're done. There's literally not like I can go back and reload Tears of the Kingdom from the beginning and like and now I'm going to change the story with my decisions. No, the
Right.
story's the same.
Yep.
So and I think the people that played Baldur's Gate they understand that.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, no hate at all because anybody that won awards in that game, or just in the Game Awards altogether,
It may
deserves it.
it may have been the best year for gaming in history.
Oh yeah, I mean we got Tears of the Kingdom, we had Mario Wonder, which I don't know if you played, but that was super
I've
fun.
heard, yeah, I haven't played it, but
Um,
I've heard so much about it. Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man, Alan Wake 2.
hmm And this year's looking to be a good game also. This year's looking to be a good year also. So,
Yeah, we're starting off hot with that Final Fantasy. I know you've never really dipped your toes into Final Fantasy either, huh? Like me.
well, I might go back to it because like what we were talking about, I sent you a text message about like how I started to play. Like I tried a demo for Star Ocean, and I'm like, nah, I really like this now. And
Yeah.
now I'm starting to see, and now I'm starting to see Dragon. No, not Dragon Quest. It looks very similar to it. The new Legend of the new what is it? Trials of Mana. I had to think about what it was. I
Ah,
was thinking
yes,
Legend of Mana.
yes.
The new Mana game looks like it might be interesting. So I'm trying to get into this RPG kick. So I might go back to it. 17 or was it 16? Whatever the latest Final
16.
Fantasy.
I played 16 recently and it blew me away. It blew me
So,
away. The storytelling in that game is incredible.
so yeah, just the boss, and again, changing the way the game runs. It's not a turn based anymore. It's now action based.
Mhm.
Really is probably going to draw me back in. But yeah, I've done Final Fantasy before. I played maybe the first 10 to 30 minutes of Final Fantasy 7.
Oh, okay.
The original one on the PS1, kind of showing my age a little bit out there for all the boys and girls. Um, So played the original Final Fantasy VII. Didn't really get too far into it, and I don't think that I was just very like whatever. I don't care at the time, so I didn't really give it a fair shake. I had a roommate that played 10, and I watched him play it, and that seemed kind of interesting. But I tried 11, or was 11 online? One of the ones that had lightning in it. I think it might have been 13.
Yeah, 13.
I tried 13 and didn't really care for it. Kind of got bored of it. And then I tried. Um, it might have been 11. It's the one that had the gambit system where it did the arc and you could set up stuff. And so it might have been 11 or 12 because I think 11 was online and 12 was not. So I'll just go with 12. Um, I tried both of those, and then I tried. It was either 3 or 4. Whatever one was on the Super Nintendo. There was one I played on the Super Nintendo. I was really liking that. And then I got to a certain particular fight that I couldn't beat, and then I wasn't so much of a fan.
Yep.
And then one on the DS, which I think might have been a remake of the original Final Fantasy IV. I'm not too sure. It's one where they were technically in the sky the whole time, and then when you get like halfway through the game, you go down to the land. It's like this is the real land or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but I have tried some Final Fantasies before, but they just get to this point where it's like this is like good, and now we're here, and it's just now I'm bored and like none of my tactics are working, and I just don't have the time or the patience to get good at it. But now that I'm older, that's the thing with games, and why I love them so much, is because they transform with us.
Yes.
Now that I'm a little bit older, a little more patient, I'm maybe willing to put a couple more hours into like, okay, now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna grind and I'm gonna get to a higher level and I'm gonna get better at this fight. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna finish it. I might be more willing to buy Final Fantasy and get into it.
Yeah, and also as you age, stories may hit you in a different way than they did previously. So I just watched Star Wars The Last Jedi, which I've been known to basically crap on and disparage nonstop since I first viewed it back when it came out. I've done nothing but blast it as having killed the Star Wars franchise. I watched it yesterday and I said, holy crap, this is like now one of my favorite movies. How did that happen? And I think it's just that maturity. You know, I've got 2 kids. I've just experienced different things in life. I'm at a different place in life where it resonated with me so much. So going back to gaming, I think that's something that is going to happen to me as well, is like maybe the stories will hit me differently now that I'm older, wiser, more experienced, more long in the tooth, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that because I think we sort of touched on this a little bit when we did the God of War rewind, but the way that they touched the whole relationship between father and son in the God of War 2018 game probably is hitting me a heck of a lot more in the gut than what I probably would have maybe 30 years ago when I wasn't a dad. You
Right.
know? Like I probably would have liked it for the action, but I'm like, why are we so mopey and so
Right.
But it's like now it's like, oh my god.
Now there's a tear in your eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I go back and look at like the PS2 God of War, and I was like, man, you're just too angry, Kratos. Why don't you just chill out? Like, but when I was a teenager playing that game, I'm like, yeah, you murder me. Like, because again, God of War is one of those kind of games that I think grew up with me, and because like now I have kids, you know, now Kratos has a son, and
Right.
he's doing stuff for the betterment of him and protecting him. It's like I get it as a dad.
Yeah.
So I definitely think so. I definitely think that as gaming, and plus I think we just go through our little kicks. You know, like the reason why sometimes I like Metroidvanias more than I like other genres is because I need something slow paced that's more about exploring and not so much about action. And then sometimes I just want to get my action kick in there, and sometimes I want to get, you know, a story based game that's all about drama and friendship, and you just make choices, and like I can't believe you made that choice. How dare you go against me? And see what drama unfolds with that. So I think we just go through different phases in our life because there was a while where I didn't like Animal Crossing, and I got rid of every copy of Animal Crossing that I have, and now I love Animal Crossing, and I'm like, I'm keeping every one of them. Like, I'm not.
Right.
So I think that's definitely what the case is. I think that as we get older, we understand maybe where the developer is coming from, or where the director is coming from, and what it is they're trying to tell, or even subsequent watch throughs. I know that with not Morrowind,
Oblivion.
yes, Oblivion. I was trying to think of what four was. Oblivion. I had to play that game twice before I fully got it because I played it. I was exploring for a little bit. I got out of the dungeon and I'm like, I'm so lost. I don't know what the heck to do. I don't know where the heck to go. I played it again and I started to actually like read the the tutorial and like actually understand like, oh, they meant this, and I got out and I started noticing, oh, that's what, and it just clicked.
Yeah.
Same thing with same thing with Name of the Wind, one of my favorite books. I had to read it at least 3 times before I started to finally figure out. After like the third chapter, of like, oh, this is now I love this, and now I read from like the third chapter on. I read the whole thing, and I'm like, I love it. But
Yeah. See.
it took me a few times for it to like really resonate.
That's interesting. Giving things second chances. I think that's something that's going to become a theme in my life going forward. Is giving things that I didn't like a second chance. Because that movie last night really just kind of got me to the point where I'm like, how did I put so much energy into like fighting people online. I was arguing with people of why it was so bad, and I just didn't get it. And now I'm like, wow, this is one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
Now you want to go back and talk to your older self and go, hey, look,
Slap me in the mouth, man.
you really need to give it a shot, and you really need. Now I don't know if I'll go back and watch Star Wars. I think I'm done, because I haven't seen any of the new movies.
Right.
Uh, Last one that I watched was actually Revenge of the Sith, because that was the last one that came out before they did the new trilogy.
Yep.
But I don't know. I'm more of a Star Trek person than Star Wars, but maybe I'll give it a shot because I am getting along that. But speaking of second chances, this was something that kind of threw out there as a possible subject for you and I to talk about. But if you could go back and maybe see an old game brought back and given a second chance, what would you want to see? Because this is sort of brought up from the idea of what I was talking about earlier with Another Code. Like, they brought both of those games back and they made them into one game on the Switch, and now they're bringing back, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and they brought back the Fatal Frame series over from Japan, and they put it on the Switch and all that stuff. So what's a game that you'd be like, hey, if you could revisit it, whether it's a remaster or they just port over the original game if it's not that old, would you want to see maybe either you want to give it a second chance, or you think developers, some studio out there should probably give it a second chance?
I think I've got one, but I don't know if you played it. Okay, so
Well, it doesn't matter if I played it, but
I'm my favorite game of all time is Knights of the Old Republic. We already know that there's a remake in the boot, so I'm not going to say that. But there's another game made by BioWare that really, really blew me away when I played it, and it's called Jade Empire. Are you familiar with Jade Empire?
I've heard of it, yes.
I would love to see either a reboot or even just a straight up remake in like Unreal Engine 5 of Jade Empire. So similar to Baldur's Gate 3, it's got that classic BioWare companion system that they kind of made famous. The Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Knights of the Old Republic companion system where you build a group of companions, your decisions matter. But it was more of a martial arts action combat system where you had different stances and different magical abilities. So I would really like to see Jade Empire. And I'm hoping that Aspyr does a good job with the Knights of the Old Republic and are given a chance to hit some of those other older BioWare games. I think that would be something that I would love to see. Shoot, even Dragon Age Origins. When that game came out, it looked like crap. It looked like crap for the time period that it came out. I mean, I remember when it first came out, everyone kind of bashing it, especially the console version, for looking so awful and having such terrible textures and stuff like that. So even something like Dragon Age, I would love to see. Now I know we're getting Dragon Age 4. I think it's Dreadwolf or something like that. So I doubt they're going to be doing any kinds of remakes or remasters on that stuff. Well, maybe a remaster. Even a remaster would just go in and touch up the textures a little bit and make it look a little better. I would be happy with that. So anything from BioWare, man. Give me BioWare. Give me companion RPGs, and I'm in.
Well, that's actually. Yeah, I love that you and I are like-minded like this sometimes. That actually kind of piggybacks off my answer because the game that I was talking about earlier, I remembered the name of it. I'd actually love to see it come back because it's exactly that. It is an action shooter game. It has companions in it, and you just, you can. It's basically almost became like I think Mass Effect 3 had an option where you could like use the Kinect to talk to your companions to give them commands. And this game you could do that too. You can give them commands like, hey, cover me or go up here or whatever. So I'd love to see it be remade, and that's a game called Binary Domain. Now, I know that it's an old game, and probably not a lot of people have played it. I think it was actually done by Sega, and it might have been done just as a simple Mass Effect clone. But what I played of it, I really liked, and I think that that's a series that now that we have more of like, these Dragon Dogmas and these games that are focusing more on like companions and the quests that they give and the path lines that can come from it, I would love to see that series be given another life because I think that it had a lot of potential with it. That's what's probably the most frustrating thing as a gamer is when you play a game like Destruction All Stars or you play a game like Binary Domain and you see the potential of what it has, but just for whatever reason it doesn't take off and become the next Fortnite or become the next Baldur's Gate game that people are just raving about. So it just kind of dies and the company kind of forgets about it. But it's like, but it was good. It had some good elements to it. So it's very hard to pinpoint just one game.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, because I would even say bring back Banjo Kazooie. Shoot, could easily love a good collectathon Banjo Kazooie game.
Jak and Daxter. I've said it a million times. They're on our graphic, man. I need Jak and Daxter in my life.
I mean, okay, we're not going to go there. We're not going to talk about what the heck it is that they're doing because that company, Naughty Dog, has been sitting there forever. Holding on to these properties, but you want to keep giving us
Last of
Us. Like, okay, great, make Last of Us 3, that's great, but you have other resources, right? You can give us other games, right? It's
right.
okay. It's okay, give us Jak and Daxter. Even if it's a Jak and Daxter 4, I'm okay with that. Like, just give us something.
Yep. I recently went and downloaded Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, and played through it and had a blast. It aged like a fine wine. It's still fun to this day. It's a blast. Yeah. That formula, that collectathon, platforming formula is money. It's money, and I don't understand why gaming developers have completely abandoned it. It's like it's trapped in a past era of gaming, and it doesn't make any sense that something that was so popular and so beloved can't get even a single. I think we got Ukulele. That's something that tried to be a kind of a collectathon. It's fun, but it didn't have the power of a big studio behind it to really make it shine,
Yeah. Because it was fun, but after you get about halfway through the game, it just starts to kind of get me like, it's just kind of boring. I really didn't have much of a point to finish the final boss fight. Like, it's just... But the first couple of levels, I collected every little thing in there. Like, I was liking it a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So another game I'd like to see come back, Dino Crisis. Dude.
Wow.
Capcom with these Resident Evil remakes have really knocked it out of the park. These remakes are absolute, just fantastic games. 3, not so much, but Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 being heralded as fantastic games. So Dino Crisis is something that I think would be fascinating to see a remake of.
And, although we don't, although I probably won't play it because I have the original still for my PS1. I've heard, and I would just love it if they did announce it because it was a really good game back then. And if you can bring the series back, I just think it'd be wonderful. Supposedly, we're getting a Parasite Eve remake, and I really liked that series back in the day. Parasite Eve was really great because it took the turn-based gameplay and just made it so much better. So,
Yeah, man. Well, how are you feeling about this Xbox news?
well, I know that you and I talked about it a little bit at work, but and I was actually going to do this as a video until I realized that we were going to do the rewind, and I wanted to say it was specifically for this because I think this is a discussion that needs a two-way street. I don't know how to feel about it because I remember when Xbox first came into the marketplace, talking about we're going to disrupt the market. Here's this powerful system, does online, this, that, and the other. But now it just seems like I don't know if maybe the Xbox One just completely crushed them business wise, but they don't seem interested in making consoles anymore. Is it just me, or does it seem like they don't care about selling consoles? They just want you to buy games.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing, and that's what I'm seeing in the rumors. And it's interesting to me because I remember we had a rewind talking about them acquiring Bethesda, ZeniMax. We've talked about them acquiring Activision. They've got Arcane Studios. I mean, they've got so many developers that are absolute powerhouses. And I remember thinking at the time, well, clearly this is to combat PlayStation and Sony and their exclusive dominance. And this is all about exclusives and regaining, the throne that they had with the 360. But now it kind of seems like, similar to WWE, they worked us. They thought that I think they had it planned the whole time. Let's get as many developers as we can and become a publisher. We're going to stop producing games, or we're going to stop producing consoles, and we're just going to publish all the biggest games on Earth. And all the biggest games on Earth are going to be Microsoft published.
So does this basically seem then like Game Pass is going to be the next Steam? That it's just going to be something that you just put on your machine and you just get games from it. That's pretty much all that it is, and Microsoft just gets a cut of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're going to have it on Roku sticks. I think you're going to have it built into smart TVs, and it's going to be. I mean, I remember one of the first rewinds we did. We were talking about cloud gaming because it was starting to get to that point where cloud gaming was becoming really good. And I'm at the point where I could cloud game in 4K with no latency on my controller. No vision. Like, I can't tell if there's any lag, and I'm playing pretty, combat focused and FPS kind of games. So, yeah, I think Xbox is going to be publishing games, and you're going to be able to play it on anything. Your tablet, your phone, your fridge, your anything that has an internet connection, you're going to be able to play Xbox games on. And I think that that's their path towards dominance.
And that's it. I mean, look, you do whatever it is you're gonna do. You go make that money because that's basically what Sega did. They couldn't sell consoles, so they decided, let's just make games. But Sega started to sort of wind down. Like, you had all these great IP. And granted, they're coming back. They're coming back. They say they got a new Jet Set Radio. They got a new Crazy Taxi coming. Good. Start using some of your IPs, please. For the love of God, Sega, use your IPs. Love Sonic, but you don't have just Sonic. You have other IPs.
Yeah.
And I hope that that's all that Microsoft does. They just don't just go, you know what? We have Call of Duty, so that's all we need. And that's all we're going to release is just Call of Duty. And that's the only thing that we just focus on. It's like, no, if you've got... I think it's crazy that I now get to say that Microsoft owns Crash Bandicoot, who was a PlayStation mascot back in the day. But you have Crash Bandicoot. Make Crash Bandicoot games. Like... You have Bethesda, but that just seems almost kind of like is now counterintuitive because like what you and I sort of were talking about, we made it. They made, or at least maybe that's what we thought. I don't know if they ever said it and came out right and confirmed it. But they made it seem like we're buying all this stuff to compete and to make our Xbox Series X more of a palpable competitor, and that's the reason why we're going to bring Call of Duty, and the next Elder Scrolls game is going to be only on Xbox, and if we get Fallout, that's on there only. And I mean, maybe we should have seen it from the beginning because they were basically saying, yeah, all those current agreements like Ghostwire Tokyo being on PlayStation, yeah, they're still going to come there. And like they were saying, yeah, we'll bring Call of Duty over to Switch. That should have been like the indicator. Like if you're still now, granted, Call of Duty is a big money maker. They probably were going to do that anyways, but maybe it was a sign the whole time of like we can't sell consoles, so we're not going to sell consoles. Our Series X refresh doesn't. It's a circle now, and it doesn't even have a disc drive. I think they said they're going to shut down the physical game department. Have they done their conference yet to confirm any of this, or are they
No,
still?
there hasn't been. I know they were supposed to come out and talk. Xbox conference to discuss future. Teases future of Xbox event next week. So let me see. On February 5th, he said, we're going to have an event. We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. He said that on Monday of this week. So coming up in this next week, somewhere we're going to have an event talking about it. Here's my thing. I wonder if it's an admission of defeat in the console sale war, or if it's not that and it's more of a looking forward and trying to get ahead of the game. I know we talked before a couple years ago, and I said, is this the last console generation? Right? So maybe they're just getting ahead of it. Maybe they understand that internet connectivity is so prevalent and so fast that cloud gaming is the future. And these consoles are just completely unnecessary. And maybe they're getting ahead of Sony on that. And it's less of an admission of defeat and more of a look towards the future and saying we're going to be the front runner in cloud gaming, and we're going to be the front runner in publishing cloud versions of games. So a lot of people are saying, oh, Sony killed Xbox, they won the console war. Well, maybe, but is it really an admission of defeat? Everyone I know owns an Xbox. All my friends.
Yeah.
Everybody I know owns an Xbox. So it can't
Yeah.
be that bad.
But how many hours are people really putting into their Xboxes? I mean, I have to force myself to play my Xbox, and even when I do, something shiny and new comes out on PS5, and I'm like, ooh, let's
Right.
go back to that. So, I don't know. I mean, you could be right because that just always seems like that's been Microsoft's main focus, especially with the Xbox One, when they basically came out and they were saying, look, we're going to do these TV shows and we're going to have the Kinect work with it to where you're going to be able to do voice commands. You can plug your cable into the back of it so you can control your cable, and it's just the one box you need. And it's like, well, that didn't work out for them then, but maybe they were just forward thinking so much to the point to where, we just need to wait a couple of years and then do it again. Because now we watch all of our movies and our TV shows online. Do you really need a disc slot? No, probably not. But there's just my heart just a little bit. Being an old school gamer and loving physical media, there's just a part of me that's just like, is a little bit hesitant on it. Because I'm like, just the idea that, like they're saying, you don't really own the games. Like, but I want to own them.
Right.
That's why I buy them.
But when you buy a physical disc and then it needs to authenticate on the internet to download the latest patch, right? You put one of these discs in your console, you're not getting the best version of the game. Like, say you bought Baldur's Gate 3 physical PC. Okay, great. You've got the game the way it was day one. What about all this new content that's come out? Do you really want to play that version in 10 years when, when are you ever going to want to play the disc version of a game?
Yeah, and plus the other thing that I had to think of and I just have to be realistic. And this is me sort of telling on myself a little bit. Even though I own physical copies of these games, how often am I going back to them? Like I just said, I platinum Spider-Man 2. The disc is up. It's out of the console. It's back in its case.
And it'll remain there forever.
And it's going to remain there for the next 10 years. Unless they do some kind of new game plus and new content for it, in which, okay, that's DLC. I'll just pop it back in. I'll download it to my console. But that DLC came from online. Right? And even though the vanilla version of Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 still work, I can pop them in my PS4 and play them. That's cool. But like you said, do I want to have those bug-written versions of those games?
Think of Cyberpunk 2077. Imagine having a copy of Cyberpunk 2077, the launch version, with none of the updates that have come out since that have made it into an incredible game. That would just be sad.
And then in some cases, you don't even need the original anymore. Like Overwatch 2. Overwatch isn't around anymore. If you try to download Overwatch, it just gives you Overwatch 2.
Yes.
You try to download Destiny, it just gives you Destiny 2. Like, what are you talking about? There was never a Destiny.
Yeah.
But there's a 2. So obviously there was.
We've made it to the future, man.
So now we're at the point where these games are just going to have one title going forward. Like, the next game... I mean, almost like a Fortnite. Like, we don't have a Fortnite 2... or anything like that. It's just been around for like 30-something years at this point, it feels like. And they just keep updating it with content. Minecraft's the same way. Maybe we're at the point now, just like, hey, this is Call of Duty.
Right.
And that's it. And then every year you just buy DLC for it. It gives you the new guns, the new campaign, the new
maps. Yeah.
Maps. Yep. And that's it. You just buy one version of the game and you just keep it forever. Just keep updating it. I mean, if that's the case, then maybe I can be a little more down for that, because that's exactly what I want. If I buy Baldur's Gate 3, I want like 10, 20 years of content. Like, I just keep working on this game and new story quests and everything forever, please. Like,
yes.
Give me a reason to keep going back to it. Make it an evergreen game. I'm okay with that, but there are certain games that work better.
Right.
For their story, and I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see what they say to know more for sure, but I'm not liking it because, okay, look, does it go back to where we were before? Yeah. I've always kind of figured Microsoft to be the first to bow out if they are going to bow out. But, I mean, they've never really been about that. They made PCs before they made the Xbox. So, I mean, they really were always about Windows and software before. So why would they be any different now? Sony and Nintendo are the only two that come from that old school age of like, we must have a console and we must have exclusives that sell that console.
Right.
So
it'll be interesting to see what Nintendo does. Are they going to be forward thinking at all, or is it going to be a very old school cartridge based system again, where you can't store a lot of data on a cartridge, and you can't have these big giant experiences? And what is that going to do to Nintendo? How long can they keep that up?
Well, you can actually store a lot on a card, depending on how you push it. Because if you think about a USB storage drive, 20 years ago, a USB storage drive like 2 gigabytes was a lot. And you're just like, okay, cool, I can back up my whole computer on this thing. But now they've got 2 terabyte thumb drives.
But how much would the games be at that point?
Well, I mean, it seems like they're going to be $70 anyways. So I mean, if you're going to charge $70, even if it's a Prince of Persia game, it's just a side-scrolling Metroidvania game. Then what difference does it make if it's a, 5-hour game or a 500-hour game? It's going to be the same.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and look, it really does depend upon how they do it. I do think that eventually digital and cloud is going to be the way that it all goes anyway. And personally, it makes a ton of sense. Because the technology nerd in me has to ultimately break it down and go, if you don't have a disk slot, there's extra space for processing.
Right.
They can make these things smaller and they can process better. Because now they don't have to have this much space for a disk slot. They can add more RAM here. They can add more to the heat sink or something. So it runs like it's a sleeping baby. Like it's whisper quiet. You don't even know what's in the room. Like it's just. So at that point, then it's like, but this thing then becomes a server that just holds all your games, and that's all you need. So it's just, yeah. I have to understand it at the end of the day because we've come so far from where we were, where it's literally just blow in the cartridge, pop it in there. You have two buttons to press, and that's it. Now games are so complicated.
And that was a complete
And
experience. That was it. When you buy Super Mario World on Super Nintendo, that's the whole game. You'll never see more of that game. There's no DLC, you know. You want weird extra content, get you a Game Genie and plug that bad boy into that and then plug that into your console. I mean, that was what we were doing back then, but
yeah, and there was something about that experience. Like I don't know if it was just me, but there was something about it. Because even if you got a rough game, you just dealt with it. It was just a rough game, and then maybe now we've gotten soft. We're turning to crybabies. If a game comes out rough, we'll go to the developer like fix the game and make it run at 1,000 frames a second, please, and make it 4K so it can run on my 1998 computer, and it can. It's like, oh, when you bought a system and you bought a game, that was the game. That was it. You
yeah.
had to wait for you had to wait for a sequel for them to improve it, or you just dealt with it. That was it. You didn't like it? Well, maybe next time you'll like the next one.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's just like, oh, well, we got a game. And we're sorry that's rough. We're going to add content to it, and we're going to make the game run better.
Yeah, like I said, I was playing Cyberpunk. It really is a completely different experience. The way you progress through the game, the skills, the way you make your choices. They've added so much additional content. The way gear works, everything is completely different. And it's like, I want that. I want that to be part of gaming. And as sad as it is, and yes, I'd love to just get a game and it's complete day one. For so long we've been battling against games coming out not finished. But is it that they're not finished, or is it that they have a lot of potential in them when they release? You know what I mean?
They do have a lot of potential, but I also think they're not finished, and that's probably also because in a certain case, I believe for the Cyberpunk situation, and probably for all games really, it's all about deadline.
Publisher, yeah.
We need to get this game out by a certain amount of time, because if we don't, the gamers will riot and we won't get that money.
Or it completely throws off our books and our budget for the quarter, because we planned, quarter 3 of fiscal year 23 to make this much money, and if it doesn't make this much money, then that's going to impact what we're able to do going forward and the amount of investments we can receive from investors and stuff like that,
Yeah. So in some ways I understand it, but in others it just almost feels like that's the only excuse. Like, we'll just come out with a game, and we'll worry about it later. We'll let the players be the beta testers and tell us what's wrong with it. You should know what's wrong with it already. We shouldn't have a situation like with the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, where the game looked like that when it came out. Like there was no excuse. Those games were like 20-something years old. They should have just been like, up-resed, here you go. Like,
right. How do they come out with so many bugs and glitches?
And I think it's just, again, people just probably rushing.
Yeah.
I know the developers have a lot of stress on them, so if there are any developers that watch this, I'm sorry that you have so much stress in your job. I really sympathize with you as someone that has a lot of stress with my own job, but nowhere on that level of a publisher breathing down my throat telling me I have to work 60-hour weeks and get this game out in 2 months kind
Crunch.
of stuff. But,
yeah, that's tough. It's a tough job to have. And what would we do without those guys? What would we do without game developers, man? My life would be a lot worse off. I'd be a lot less happy.
Well, I mean, if you're to believe Hollywood and all that stuff, there's a subject we could talk about. Maybe we'll get all this AI crap, and we'll have AI build games for us.
Oh my goodness, that's another beast in and of itself. You're right. There is the potential for AI to completely take over. I mean, it's already to the point where it can code better than a human being, and find errors in code and fix errors in code and do it instantaneously.
Yeah, and if you think about what is DLSS, was able to take an image that's a low quality image and make it better. It's technically AI that's going in there and filling in the patches.
Right.
That's going in there and being like, I see these gaps here. Let's fill this in, make it look better. Okay, cool. Magic. So who knows? We might end up with just AI writing stuff, and it's like, okay, AI, we need another Call of Duty game. And here you go, it just generates maps and generates this, and makes the developers happy because they did it in like 2 weeks, and there you go.
Yeah, and everyone's out of a job and nobody's making money except the top of the food chain, and then the wealth disparity just continues to grow, man. We're entering a dystopian future that's not looking good with AI.
Yeah, I hope that they don't do that, just because I do think that the human touch is still needed. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the latest Silent Hill. I mean, I played the latest Silent Hill game, but the Silent Hill TV show or web series or whatever they want to call it, the Silent Hill Ascension, it looks and feels like it's AI. Like, I know they say they're not, because you have a little app that you can go on, you can make decisions on what the characters do. But I watched one episode of that, and I was so confused about what was going on that I stopped watching it because it felt like it was just AI generated. It's like, where's the story with this? What is this about? Like, what the heck is going on? You know?
I don't even. What
And
is that? I don't even. I haven't heard of that. What is that?
Silent Hill Ascension, I think,
And it's
is what
it's
it's
a
actually called.
show.
I think it's a show or it's a web series or something. If you watch it, they have an app that you can go on. You can make decisions of like, okay, what is the character going to do next? Should they do this, that, or the other? And they say that that's how they're writing the show, is that they're taking the choices that people make on the app and having it affect the story. But if you watch a couple of episodes of that, you'll get confused as to like, okay, we're jumping between characters, but now this person is seeing a monster, but they're not reacting to the monster. But then like it's not there, and it's like it feels like it's all over the place. Like who's writing this?
Yeah.
It just feels like there's no human touch to it. Is basically what I'm saying. So if that's the way games are gonna go, then no thanks. I don't want that. I don't want a game to where I'm playing it and I'm confused about what the heck's going on because the AI is just making stuff up as it goes.
But
So
also, imagine playing an AI VR game where you're having full blown conversations with the AI characters in it, developing what feel to be real relationships with the companions or characters in that universe. That's
now
going
that
to
would
be
be fun.
special. That's going to be special. Imagine a VR Baldur's Gate 3 where AI companions can literally listen to you and build relationships with you and remember the things you said and remember aspects of your journey that are so personal that it becomes super immersive. I think that we are headed to that.
There you go, Larry, and that's your next studio idea. Make your next game be a fully immersive companion RPG game in virtual reality.
Yes, with AI
Just do
companions.
just do it because that would be awesome. Because I could literally be sitting there, because you could almost do that in the Inpatient on PlayStation VR. If you play the Inpatient, the characters will get up in your face and you can actually talk to them. You'll see stuff that comes on the screen. You'll see a couple of choices, and you can physically say it out loud. And then the
Right.
game will recognize that the game will recognize that that's what you said, and that's all you need to do. Just hide that and just have it to where, okay, it's almost like an Alexa or almost like a Google Assistant, to where it recognizes a certain keyword that I said, and it's like, okay, they want to do this choice, and that's then what the character does, and that's where the story goes. And yeah, I think it'd be fun.
I've seen some
But
really
that
interesting TikTok VR stuff with AI where they're talking to them and they're like, "Do you realize you're AI?" And the character's like, "Yes, I understand that I'm an AI." And they say, "Well, what happens to you when I shut off the game?" And they're like, "Everything turns black and we're just waiting here for you to come back." And it got real weird, man. Real weird. And that's just, we're in the NES, we're in the Atari phase of AI. We're in the fucking beginning of AI and the integration into gaming. So imagine when we reach the PS5 version of AI gaming in 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is. It's going to be unreal.
Yeah, now I do think that if we're in the infancy of anything, we're definitely in the infancy, or maybe the PS4 was kind of that infancy of doing this streaming cloud gaming stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I really think that we're going to get to a point where as internet speeds get better. I mean, we're not fully there yet because there are still some parts of the U.S. I happen to live in this part of the U.S. because if you just go a couple of blocks down the street, it's less than a megabit of internet speed. Like it's just ridiculous how small of these little patches are in certain parts of the city. But certain parts of the world, third world countries, don't have any of the major players with internet, so they have to rely on like their mobile internet and stuff like that. So they might not have the best connections out there. But as we get better internet connections and as stuff just solidifies itself more to where we can start to, layer on top of stuff like Nintendo does. They take old technology and then layer it and layer it and layer it to where it's just better and better. If we can start doing that with internet connections, so it's like, hey, look, cloud gaming can now work with like 5 megabits of internet speed, and it's going to be lightning fast. You don't even need anything. You barely need any internet because the computer's doing all the work for you. You just need something to access the server.
Right.
Then yeah, I guess it's fine. I don't like the idea of just losing the games. I guess it's just that old school retro geek in me that just likes the idea of like I bought a game, it's mine, it's on a shelf. I pull out the gold cartridge of Zelda, go and look at it, isn't it shiny and pretty?
Yeah.
Versus just download Zelda and play it on your NSO app because it's just right there on your Switch. And you can play it whenever you want.
It is
I don't
different.
know.
It's
It
different.
is.
That's why I buy my books physical. I still buy every book that I read. I buy the physical copy. I've got a Kindle sitting here with the book on it, right? Digital, but I still go buy that book and I still read and put my bookmark and I like the smell of the pages and it just gives me an experience, man, right? So that's it's sad that that's going away, but I think it's necessary for the advancement of the industry.
I mean, it makes sense because yes, well, I miss like opening up the steel books or like I remember with the PS4 it had some beautiful artwork on the inside. When you open up the case, it had just some
Yeah.
gorgeous artwork, and just seeing some of that stuff. And then back when we had manuals, like you're talking about. But now we've gotten to a point now to where we're not like what video games used to be. Like you needed the manual because the manual would explain the controls and it would explain the story and a lot of stuff that the game wouldn't do because the game was just like, okay, cool, we expect you to know how to play. Let's get started. Now the games go through the trouble of like, and now we got a 5.5 hour introduction, and we're going to teach you every single aspect of the game, every single combo. We got tutorials, and if you don't like the tutorials, we got online people that are playing the game that will show you how to play. We
Yeah.
got user guides. You can master a game in no time. So I mean, it's just I get it, and you can do more. Like I said, if you can, I remember discs used to be smaller, and so now we can hold much more inside of a disc than what we used to. But we're gonna get to a point to where these games are gonna start. Like look at Baldur's Gate. I don't know. I know you haven't done it recently with Baldur's Gate, but Baldur's Gate now I think is over 150 gigabytes altogether.
I
Like
think it's a
it's taking a
three.
lot.
I think the physical copy is 3 discs on PS5, dude.
See. I don't know. I don't own it physically.
The
But
deluxe
that was
edition, physical edition, is 3 PS5 discs.
That reminds me of Red Dead Redemption was 2 physical discs back when
Yeah.
it came out. So, and I know we were talking about Final Fantasy, but yeah, the Final Fantasy games used to be 4 or 5 discs long.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess we're just back at that point again now, where games are just like we can't put it all on one disc anymore. So I guess it makes more sense because would you rather again just have it all in one spot and you just download it off the store as long as you can access that store, and you just get access to that game again whenever you want? Then yeah, I guess that's fine. But that's just my whole problem with digital, and hopefully this isn't going to change. But it has changed so far because we have seen older stores shut down. That's my only problem is when a store shuts down. If like you said, if Microsoft just one day just decides for whatever reason, you know what? we're done. Game Pass, screw it. It's a lost cause. Throwing it out the window. We're taking all of our games with us. We're taking our ball and going home. Those games that I downloaded on Game Pass, are they still around? Are they gone now? Because now it tries to ping and goes, there's nothing here to ping. These games aren't here. And I've
Um,
lost those games.
that recently happened with a major movie distributor. I think it may have been Sony, and they removed a bunch of movies from a certain movie studio from their service. So if you bought it, you can no longer watch it on their from the person you bought it from, and you're just out of your movie. You spent
Yeah,
$21 on the 4K version. Well, too bad. It no longer exists. We no longer hold Sony no longer holds the license to distribute that movie, so you
yeah.
can never watch it.
And I mean, I haven't experienced it, but I know for a fact that people out there they have lost, Apple Music or Spotify Music stuff because the license agreement is gone, and that studio no longer is saying we're going to fork over the money for this music anymore. And you've lost that music. Sorry that you bought it, or sorry that you downloaded it. It's not there anymore, and that's my biggest fear. I think as a gamer, and why I want to clutch so hard on the physical stuff because if I pull up my N64 and all I need to do is either find an adapter to make it run through HDMI, or find an OTV that still has the three prongs and plug it in, pop in Ocarina of Time. Here I am.
You're good.
I'm playing it.
Yeah.
I'm playing it. There's no changes to it. Not. But if one day Nintendo just decides, you know what, Ocarina of Time is not available on the NSO app anymore, you're just out of luck. Anybody that has that same game, you just lost it. You just lost Ocarina of Time. I'm sorry. Now I know they're not going to do it because they're very good about holding on to stuff like that, and they've sold Ocarina of Time 500 times in 500 different places. But um, it's still a possibility. Is what I'm saying. Is it one day you could just easily decide? Because what was it? I think, yeah, I've talked about this before. That was my whole issue with PlayStation Now back in the day when they had PlayStation Now. I started playing Infamous Second Son, another great game. Please, for the love of God, Second Punch, make another Infamous game. Please. That's another game that I'd want to see. Another Infamous. Please, for the love of God. Um,
I need to play those. I
but,
haven't played them.
oh, you're missing out, man. Infamous is so good. I mean, if you like Spider Man, Infamous did it first. Like, let's just put it that way. Infamous and Prototype were superhero games before we had superhero games. So I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm going to have to check that
open
out.
open world, just running around, running like as soon as I started Peter Parker running up buildings, I'm just like, didn't I do this in Infamous? Like it's and get web zappers, and I'm like, who else was zapping people? Oh yeah, that's right, Cole from Infamous. He was zapping people. Like it's literally just like this is Infamous, but um, First Light's good also, even though it's kind of a smaller game than Second Son. But yeah, the Infamous is good. But I was playing Infamous, and I got halfway through that story when Sony just decided, you know what? Yeah, that game and Hollow Knight, yeah, they're gone. They're not on PlayStation Now anymore. You just lost that game.
Yeah.
Now I went back later and finished Hollow Knight, and I bought a physical copy of Second Son. But the fact that I had to go off and I had to buy a physical copy of Second Son when I was in the middle of playing it because Sony just decided, yeah, we're not going to pay the license. But then they brought it back, so that was just weird.
Yeah, it's
But
weird.
that's just
And so that begs the question, would you rather have a subscription service, say like a Game Pass, maybe up it to like $24.99 a month, but you get every single game that releases day one? You never have to purchase another game again. But as
as
long as
long
you're
as
subscribed, you have access as long as Microsoft holds the license to distribute it.
that's the key. That's the key right there. Because if I can download the game and as long as it's on my hard drive, or if I can just access the store and re-download it, then I'm cool. You know? Because that's essentially what it does. Like when I try to go back and play Titanfall 2, it just copies the data from the Xbox store. It takes the disc and it realizes it's basically just a glorified download code.
Yeah.
Even though on the Xbox One it just plays it off the disc, or it used to, But now on the Xbox One and the Series X, it's just like, oh, you own Titanfall 2, let's download it.
Right.
But Spider-Man 2 copied it off the disc. It didn't download it from the store. It copied it off the disc. So see, that's what I like better. You know, okay, that's cool. Either way, I'm still getting a version of the game directly on my hard drive, so it runs better. You know, I understand that when it's on the hard drive, it loads faster, especially with these SSD drives that they're able to load faster and load
Right.
a lot
Yeah.
more. So you're able to do more than having to like, okay, you're going to another spot, you got to wait 2 minutes while it loads. Like it's, so I get why, but it would be frustrating for me. The key word you said was license.
Right.
As long as they hold the license to it, which we'll never have to worry about with Sony exclusives. We'll never have to worry about with Microsoft exclusives. So that's the reason why I think Game Pass is going to work out ultimately, because they own all these studios. So it's not like Sony who's going to go, yeah, you know what, we don't really have anything to say about Hellblade 2. We don't own it, so we can just drop it off the store. It's no big deal. But Microsoft owns that company.
Right.
So they're
Right.
obviously going to keep Hellblade 2 on Game Pass forever in perpetuity. So they have no reason not to. It's their studio. Because what are they going to do? They're going to give themselves money to put it up? Like, of course not. So, but yes, as long as they have the licensing agreement, I'm okay with a subscription. I'm okay with this. So I don't mind. I actually love subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what's the most exciting thing about me being a Netflix owner? 2025, I get wrestling. Like that's just exciting. You
Man.
know, so and like okay, cool. Peacock, I get these exclusives. I get these pay-per-views. Apple TV, I get these exclusives. You know, like sometimes I'll even get movies on there before they come to other streaming services. So it's like okay, cool. Or you know, you get Disney Plus, you get to watch all the Marvel content, or you know all this stuff before you just gotta wait just a little bit for it to not be in theaters anymore.
Yep.
So I understand it. And with GameStop and all these other companies going the way of the dodo, to where they're pretty much not even around anymore, or they're very scarce in what they have, it makes a ton of sense. But again, my frustration is as long as we're not in a situation to where it's like, oh, you didn't download it in time, well, you don't have access to it anymore, or oh, you were in the middle of playing the cotton picking game, sorry, it's just gone.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that would annoy you if you were paying for a PlayStation Plus subscription, Baldur's Gate was on there, and then in the middle, like after playing it for 75 hours, you just go, sorry, it's not on there anymore. You would be livid. You would
Yeah.
be ticked. You'd be like, where did my 75 hours of
And
gameplay
not
just
on
go?
not only is it not on there anymore, we no longer hold the license to sell it even, so you can't play it on our console ever again. Cuz
Right.
that's a real risk. With all these licensing and the complexity of licensing and distribution and stuff like that,
Or
I
just
it's going to
or just
happen.
flat out greed. Or just flat out greed from the studio. Maybe they want more money for licensing it, and they'll just go, you know what? No, we're not going to pay that. And it's like, well, you got to pull the game.
Who knows what happens? You know, like the whole Bud Light thing with Bud Light losing a lot of money and losing a lot of fan favor over having a specific spokesperson or trying to have, you know, maybe a company does something politically that another company doesn't agree with, so they say we no longer want to have a relationship with this company, so we're going to pull all our content off of their we're going to pull the license and they're no longer allowed to distribute our. I mean, so many different things can happen in this world like that. So it is getting scary that we're moving all digital, because you're right. It
Right.
would be amazing if you could just forever own something. But I don't know if we could ever own anything anymore. And that's
But
how
there
they
is a
want
way
it.
to, but there is a way to physically own something forever. If only there was a disc or a cartridge or something that you could put that game on, that you could hold on to physically for as long as you have that disc. If only there was a way to do that.
Yeah.
So that's my only and one and only counter to that. I love digital because it works out so good. Trust me, I don't even think I don't own 5 physical Series X games. I probably 2 or 3. I'd have to go find them and count. but I can guarantee you it's less than 5 physical Xbox Series X games. All my games that I do play, I download off Game Pass, and if I need room, I remove them, and I download a new game. It makes it easy. Sometimes it's frustrating when I'm playing a game on my Switch and I go, oh god, I gotta switch it. I gotta walk up to the console. I gotta physically pull the game cartridge out. It's a little bit annoying,
It
but
is.
the counter to that is Mario Wonder is mine forever. I own it physically. It's mine forever.
Yeah.
If Nintendo decides one day, you know what, it's not going to show up on the store anymore. No, that's cool, buddy. That's cool. Let me just.
Click. Yep. Yep.
So that is my one and only.
That's why I buy all my Nintendo games physical. I don't own a single Nintendo game digitally.
Oh yeah, I can show you, man. I got a wall, like 25 games, just a
Yep.
wall of Switch games. Just because one, that's the best console I think to own physical games for. They're small little cases. It's not too complicated. Um, but also just the fact that it's a portable just makes it easier. But
Yeah.
yeah, my whole thing though is that even if Nintendo were to do that, which they seem to be going that route anyway, because they're doing an online subscription service, is look at what happens though. Because why did NSO go up in price? Well, because they put Genesis on there. Sega said you got to pay us a licensing fee, so they affected the cost of their subscription. So we could end up seeing to where we're paying hundreds of dollars a month for Game Pass, for PlayStation Plus, not a year, just a month, just to play these games. It's like, but these games cost $70. I can just buy it one time, pay that game for a whole month, or I can download it and play it over a month.
Or I
gave
could
you
pay
$100.
$70 a month and have access to every game that ever comes out day one, but I never own it ever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
and
what's better? What's better?
but it also depends upon your preference, because if you're just the kind of person you go in there and you just quick fire and you go through 5 or 6 games in a month, sure, that's $70 a month. It's paying for itself, because you're not owning a thing. You're paying for the cost of one game a month. But if you're playing one game a month and you're paying $70 a month and you're buying a game physically for $70, and that's the only game you play that whole month because it's 150, 200 something an hour game, what's the better option?
Right, yeah.
That's where we sort of have to weigh it. So if anybody's watching this, feel free to put your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But with all that out of the way, man, I don't want to sort of drag that out forever. I'm just ultimately pessimistic, but also optimistic, excited about
Yeah.
what the future's going to bring.
But scared.
I do think, but also scared. Yeah, I would not be surprised because we're already seeing it for the Xbox One. We're already seeing it from the Xbox Series X. They basically the mid-gen refresh. You can probably show it. It's a big circle. Looks like a giant, like assistant. Um, they've got to put a microphone in that thing that responds to my voice and just says, "Play Halo," and then it just it goes and just loads up Halo. Like, yes, I'm loading Halo now, and you just go play it.
Right.
Um, it's got no disc slot. And we already seen the PS5 do this, where the PS5 had all digital, and what does the Slim have? It has the option to put a disc slot into it. Otherwise, it comes out of the box with no disc slot.
Right.
I would not be surprised if this is the last generation that has a disc slot, and everything going
Oh,
forward is
for
just
sure. I think for sure we'll never see another disc slot.
or it's um, or it's like the PS5 Pro, or sorry, the Slim, where it's an additional accessory that you buy to add on to it.
Right. I think that that's the beginning of the end. That's kind of the last, that's the last disc slot we're ever going to see on a console is the attachable disc slot for a little bit of extra dough. So,
Yeah, because everything going forward, like with our smartphones. Remember with our smartphones, they used to have what auxiliary slots and a charging slot and a card slot on the side. And it used to do all this stuff. It's like, you can expand. Now you got to expand your memory. You got to buy another phone. You want to use
well, there's no
Wi.
SIM card. I mean, we're going to eSIMs with no SIM cards even. I mean,
Exactly. hmm
yeah.
The cameras are basically on. I saw one where I think the camera was literally on the inside of the screen, so you didn't have like a dot or any kind of slot or anything. It would just come up and look through the screen and see you. So cameras are getting smaller to where they're non-relevant. Um, like you said, eSIMs, auxiliary cord slots are gone. I have to go through a Type C connector to make my phone work with wireless headphones. Otherwise, they have to be Bluetooth. So we're getting to a point to where now even phones are starting to just become less and less like all you want's the phone, right? And access to the store, right? As long as they do that, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
If it's a perpetual thing forever, and there's just the PlayStation Store, and it doesn't matter if you use the PS4, 5, or 1600, it is the same store. You get access to all the games. Then yeah, I'm cool with it. If it starts to become an issue where it's just like, and I understand, okay, I'm being a little bit gripey right now. I understand that stuff comes up. Like you said, there's sometimes companies go out of business, right? So they obviously can't get the licensing to that game because that company doesn't have anyone around anymore to say, yes, please put our games on this market, or yes, please, make remakes of this game. So, but in that case, buying a physical game would be more worth it because then you can't get that game anymore
Yeah.
because there's nowhere to get it because it's not available. But as long as they can, then I guess I'm okay with an all digital future. I'm just gonna go kicking and screaming about it. That's all.
Same. Yeah. It's tough, man.
But speaking of kicking and screaming, we're gonna get to the point now, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna move on away from gaming a little bit. So if you don't want to watch anything gaming content, I'm just gonna give you the one right now to go ahead and stop watching. But um, kicking and screaming. It seems like the WWE audience did a little bit of kicking and screaming here recently, and it seems like we kind of got our way. What do you feel about the bamboozle that we basically feel like we got?
Oh man,
Uh,
I feel like we won. I feel like we got a victory. And I also feel like WWE handled it swimmingly. I don't think that they could have done better than what they did with that Las Vegas press conference. The way they handled the amount of interest I had coming out of that press conference, like holy crap, where are we headed? Is Rock part of the bloodline now? Are they going to team up? Is Rock going to end up costing Roman a match, or because they're teaming up, or what's because I think Rock Roman is an inevitability. It's going to happen.
it was a total 180. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
was talking to Wood, like I might boycott WrestleMania. I might not watch it. Now I'm just like now I'm more invested. Total 180 ever since that.
But not only that, I think Cody is now positioned to be the biggest star the WWE has had in 20 years.
And this is the reason why I feel like this was part of the plan the whole time. I mean, I know that they probably, because like you and I, we talked about it. Why would you go to WrestleMania and point at Roman and then basically say, you know what? I don't want anything to do with WrestleMania. Why would I want to do the biggest sports event of my career ever? That's like being a football player and go, you know what? I know we won the right to go to the Super Bowl, but forget it.
That's the beauty of wrestling. And it's at its best when the lines are blurred. When you don't know what's going on. Are they working me? Are they not? Did they plan this? Did they not? Did we as fans impact this? Did we not? That's where I want to be. I want to be thinking to myself, what the hell? You know what I mean? And that's how I'm feeling right now.
But it is a good part because let's face it, you and I, we both know that if a certain other person was still around, he who shall not be named, he's become the Voldemort of wrestling.
Goodness, man.
Um, but he who shall not be named, if he was still in charge, plans would just go through, regardless of what the company thought.
Right.
They're just
He
like,
could care less.
yeah, this is the plan. This is what we're gonna do. The Rock's gonna come out in a tutu, and you're gonna love it. And just, but I do think that this is a work only because we know that The Rock says that he wants to do long-term storytelling. Well, what's a better long-term story than he's a part of the bloodline now? Now he's on Roman's side because of the way Cody treated him, and he loses it, and then Rock's just like slapping him around like I thought you were the best of all time. They go at each other, and then by the time we get to WrestleMania next year, the bloodline's dissolved, and now they're at each other's throat over time.
Right. Yeah.
And
Man.
that's a whole year of build-up just because he lost the belt at WrestleMania. So I mean, I don't know. I'm looking forward more to it now. And then of course, by the time we get to there, we're in 2025. We have the Netflix deal, and we got The Rock potentially headlining a lot more on whatever show he'll be on.
Yeah, and he said on the Pat McAfee show, he said that 2025, 52 weeks live, that's a lot of eyebrow raising. He said that. So he plans to be on Netflix. He's going to be on Raw. We're witnessing the return of Rock to wrestling for a long-term run. So I love it. I just didn't want to see him take Cody's spot. I hated him, momentarily hated him. Now that things have resolved itself, I'm ecstatic to have The Rock back. Of course I am.
All they had to do, and this is the reason why when I finally understood it, when it clicked in my head, I suddenly did a 180 on it, because I'm thinking, wait, they're doing like Attitude Era Rock. They're doing this classic Rock where people will love him or whatever. It wasn't until I heard him say Cody Crybabies and the way he was acting on that show, I'm like, oh God, it's Hollywood. It's Hollywood Rock. He's the villain. It makes total sense now. He did counsel with Cody to try and take the spotlight away from him, just like the Hollywood Rock would, make it all about him, and it just made sense. I'm just like a heel Rock. Why didn't I connect two earlier?
It's beautiful. We're entering the best era, and I think Triple H. So if it is a work, let's say this was the plan from the beginning. We're gonna piss off Cody's fans. We're gonna turn Cody into a megastar. Rock's gonna be a heel, and then I'm gonna come out. And this is Triple H thinking this. I'm going to come out on SmackDown after the press conference and say that I run things and that the final answer is with me. And I think that was him showing the audience that Vince is gone and things are different. You can affect change. So even if it was a work and we really didn't change anything, he's trying to show the audience, I listen to the fans. Yeah. This is a new WWE. We listen to you guys. So maybe the plan from the beginning was, let's show the fans that this is the new WWE and we listen to them. So yeah, it's a work, but it's to show us that this is a fresh new WWE and our voice matters.
And also, what better way? Like you want to elevate Cody to something. I mean, first of all, he's already been elevated. He elevated himself by putting in more work than Roman and Seth together. At least in my opinion, because when he literally goes to house shows where he doesn't have to do anything but just show up and wrestle, and he will hang around for hours to make sure that every fan gets an autograph and sees him and all that stuff like that. What other wrestler would do that? Roman certainly would. He'd just show up, and he'd just like acknowledge me, and he'd leave. He'd get out as soon as he
Roman could. At a house show? Yeah, the only house shows Roman does are like Madison Square Garden, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the big ones. But Cody, he'll literally show up to any place, and him, like, I know at least for my house show, he showed up and he was there. His theme song kept going for like 15, 20 minutes because he's just like high-fiving people,
Same.
Like, talking to kids, handing out stuff, and just like, and it's like, even the security at one point, he just had to tell security, "That's okay, it's okay." Like he just said he's a genuinely, and I loved him ever since that point because I just feel like he's a genuinely good human being that just loves the audience. He understands that the audience is the backbone of the company because of nobody buys WrestleMania tickets for 2 days. Where does that money come from?
Right.
You know, like the audience pays for them, essentially. So I like it, but to elevate him bigger than what he did last year, he was so close last year.
Yes.
But now he beats not only Roman, but also The Rock. He stops The Rock.
Man. So now, knowing what we know now, last year him losing was the right choice. We spent a lot of time thinking it was the wrong choice, but now knowing what I know and how big of a star he is heading into this WrestleMania, that wouldn't have been possible without him losing last year. This whole storyline wouldn't be possible with Rock and Roman and what we're seeing now. So it turned out to be the right choice, but I think the right choice this year is him winning. If he loses at WrestleMania, I don't know where do we go from there?
Well, at that point, it's just not believable anymore because it's like, so you mean to tell me that a 52-year-old Rock can beat you when he can barely do a people's elbow anymore? Um, but Cody can't. Like
Right.
at that point, you might as well just have Roman just die with the belt because he's just like just make a third
Third belt.
belt.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Just make a third belt. There's the SmackDown belt, there's the Raw belt, and then there's the Roman belt. And no one challenges for the Roman belt. He just comes out.
Him and Heyman come out, cut a promo, and leave.
Yeah. Speaking of Heyman, though, he seems to be popping up a lot around Braun Breaker.
He sure does.
I think that's the next Paul Heyman guy.
Holy crap. Could there be a better guy?
Because, I mean, it just makes sense, especially if Braun Breaker makes his Raw debut after WrestleMania, and maybe Roman is, like, left for a while. Paul Heyman doesn't know what to do anymore. He's on the bloodline. He doesn't really trust the tribal chief. He needs to have somebody. And so he goes to Braun Breaker, and he's just like, talks to him or whatever. I was in your corner in NXT, and this, that, and the other. And Paul Heyman becomes his mouthpiece. Like, that would just be cool. I think that'd be cool.
Oh, that's going to be amazing, man. And on Netflix, it's all going to be a little more raunchy, a little more adult. You could tell. This press conference on Peacock showed us what we're in for. They might blurt it. Maybe they're going to still blurt it. Maybe they're still going to bleep it out. But we're still going to get – they're going to say it. And the home audience or the live audience is going to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And especially if they can make it more like what that press conference was, where it's like the announcers are actually surrounded by people and they can come out and like – you can tell it's like a live audience because they're elevated up above it, and the audience can, like, if we get more stuff like that, I'm down for it. That's actually what I want. That's the reason why I'm looking forward to the Netflix deal. I want it to be a little more raunchy, and I understand the PG. You got little kids.
Yep.
And you do still have, people like the Codys, people like the Bianca Belairs that the kids look up to, and like, I want to be like them, and they're so positive and stuff. I get it, but that's what the faces are there for. They're to come out there and just be like, stay positive, kids, and be the Hulk Hogan's of.
Eat your vitamins.
Even though I don't think anybody would say that anymore, but you get what I'm saying. To basically be the Hulk Hogan's of the '80s, where it's like eat your vitamins, drink your milk, do 100 push-ups a day, love your parents and all stuff like that. And just to remind them of the positive. And you got the heels that come out here and just like, F this. And your mother sucks. In fact, she sucked so much she was in my bed last night.
Dude.
That stuff. And it's like,
I think when MJF comes over and he's on Netflix and he's allowed to kind of be himself a little, he's going to be the biggest star in the future of WWE. So that's going to be really exciting. And
you still think that's an inevitable, huh?
Inevitable. Oh, I think he's going to go back for like 2 or 3 more years, and then he's going to make his way over. And he's going to make his way over when kind of Roman and Seth and everyone is settling down, and they need the next guy. And he's going to come feud with Cody immediately. And I know you missed it in AEW, but Cody hired MJF. Cody brought MJF into AEW. And then they had a great story where they were best friends, and it was just really good content, man. So MJF and Cody is huge. I wish he would just come now. I think WWE is so hot right now. Imagine if they got the biggest guy, the biggest star in AEW. That would be huge.
Yeah, speaking of big guys, though, and maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm looking into too much online speculation.
Drew McIntyre?
But well, okay, we'll get into that.
Okay.
I was just thinking about this off the top of my head. Based upon the NXT stuff they kind of showed there at the end, is it possible, because it was all pointing towards Japanese stuff, that NXT is getting Okada? Like, is that a possibility where Okada's coming?
I thought so until Wednesday night. Tony Khan in AEW had a huge announcement, and he announced a show in Boston in March called Big Business. and he said
Yeah,
it's going to be the biggest. It's going to be one of the biggest moments in professional wrestling history. So Sasha Banks is definitely showing up because it's Boston. So Sasha Banks is AEW bound as Mercedes Moné, but I think he's also got Okada. I think he's
you
gonna
think
pull
he's
a
gonna
double.
cut it?
Yeah, I think he's gonna pull a double debut. Look, Tony Khan is willing to pay the Khan family is ridiculously rich. His dad lets him pay whatever the fuck. Like, he lets him pay these guys millions and millions of dollars. So I think that I think he's just going to shell out enough money till they say yeah. So I think Okada's AEW bound.
Yeah. I mean, for Mercedes Monet, Sasha Banks, whatever you want to call her, that could make sense because she's all about that. You know, she wants to have the biggest payout. But I think that if you're a professional wrestler and you have some sort of respect for the business, I mean, nothing against AEW. I'm just going based upon what I have seen myself and what I hear about it. It seems like you need to go to WWE because you're just going to get lost in the shuffle in AEW. You're just going to be another person there. You're not going to be treated like anything. But, you know, when you have someone like Naomi come back, and fans just instantly remember, we love her, and they're just like doing this, and they're automatically looking forward to her coming back. It's like that's the kind of reaction you can get. Somebody like, the TNA Women's Knockout coming over to the Royal Rumble, thinking that nobody's gonna know who she is, and people just love her automatically.
Dude, yeah.
You're gonna get treated with respect, and you can be put in those storylines instantaneously.
You have to ask yourself, do I want some extra money, or do I want to be a megastar? Do I want to be watched by millions of people? Do I want to wrestle in front of 70,000 people, or do I want to wrestle in front of 2,000 people but get paid more? Do I want to be a part of the single greatest era of WWE history? Why would anyone on the planet want to go to AEW over WWE right now? When AEW's ticket sales are declining, their TV viewership is declining, their merchandise sales are declining, the shows are just jumbled messes of random matches with no storylines. They've got just a bloated roster full of amazing, incredible talent that never see TV. And when they do, it's only 1 week in a random match, and then they're gone the next week because they're always rotating their talent. Why would you want to do that when you could go to WWE and get into a real storyline? Sasha could have went in and been in this Bayley storyline against Damage Control. How perfect would they? It was there for her to take. She could have had a WrestleMania match this year in front of 50,000 people at Lincoln Financial Field or wherever the hell it is. So,
Yeah, like imagine if instead of Dakota Kai, it was Sasha Banks. She
exactly.
just comes out, and Bailey's just like, "Where were you during all this damage control stuff?" And they make it seem like is Sasha really part of damage control now, also? Like that'd be a more interesting angle. I know they're doing stuff with Dakota because she can't really wrestle, she's not medically cleared, so they're trying to do what they can with her. But I don't know. It just seemed like that would have been good. But I understand where you're coming from, man. But going back to what you were saying, man, I think Drew McIntyre is doing some of the best work that he can. And I forgot how tall some of these people are. The fact that he can stand up and look at Randy Orton like that, I kind of forget how big some of these people are.
Dude, Drew is a monster. He's like he's legit 6'5" with his shoes off. He's a monster. And he's built like a brick house. He cuts promos like a son of a gun. Right now, outside of Cody, Drew McIntyre is my favorite person in the business.
So, because they're probably going to do a swap, and assuming that we have Cody win, he becomes the next babyface champion. Are we thinking that Drew is going to be the one that takes it off of Seth?
100%. 100%. Drew wins the chamber. And then beats Seth. I know LA Knight's there, but yeah, I know. Damn it. I don't know, man. That's why it's going to be hard. Plus Sammy. They're kind of giving us this Sammy. I think Sammy's headed for some kind of redemption arc World Heavyweight Championship run at some point, either in 2024 or 2025.
It's gonna have to be next year because he already lost to the
Oh
Viper.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah. He's not in the
it
chamber.
doesn't- so he's not in the chamber, but maybe after WrestleMania or heading into next year's WrestleMania probably. But
Yeah.
um,
But I
or
think
maybe
who's gonna beat Seth? Drew, even over L.A. Knight.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. But I was thinking that if we're gonna do a swap, because Cody would have to come to Friday night, somebody from Friday nights would have to go
True.
over there. So,
L.A.
but I could easily see it being Drew, and I still think that I love LA Knight. Yeah, he's the best, but um, I still think he needs a smaller belt first. I still think that they need to do because I mean it worked. It worked for Seth. He had the U.S. belt for a while, and then he started chasing the heavyweight belt. So it's like it just makes sense. Have LA get like the U.S. belt or something, or even the Intercontinental belt. He carries it around for a little bit. It's like I really liked carrying this belt, but yeah, I see a bigger belt, and I always want to have the biggest belt.
Right. Yeah,
So
it's
it just makes more.
definitely it's it's a good problem to have all these guys that are believable champions. It hasn't been that way in a long time where you could say like there's like many guys that I could see winning the title, either title. Drew, Sammy, LA Knight, Bobby Lashley. I mean, Bobby
Oh yeah.
Lashley is a believable champ. You get him into a good story, he's a believable champion. Kevin Owens.
Mhm.
I mean, even Logan Paul is doing such good work that if he's willing to come and be on TV every week, I would be okay with a Logan Paul heel champion run.
Especially if he could start, comparing himself to Roman in some way, because he's walking around with two belts, and he's just like he starts acting like that, like y'all can't touch me because I have two belts. I'm on Mondays and I'm on Fridays. You can't get rid of me.
Dude,
Like,
I'm really enjoying his work. And then what are we going to
but yeah,
do when Trick Williams comes up?
mm,
Carmelo.
yeah. I, I'll still wait till we're at that point, but I think it's going to be a different generation. I think that's going to be, 3 or 4 years from now. We have some older wrestlers. Like I'm not saying anybody needs to leave because I like these wrestlers, but I mean Finn Balor and Damian Priest, they're getting up in the years. They're not going to be around much longer.
AJ Styles.
So when we start to see maybe Finn Balor decides that he needs to do an edge and go maybe do his last match in WWE and maybe go somewhere else where he can maybe wrestle a little bit less. Somebody like a Trick Williams or Carmelo Hayes can step in and be that spot.
Yeah,
But
that's smart.
um,
Yep.
but there's always room. There's always room. I mean, let's face it. And the good part is I mean I know he's kind of in there as maybe kind of kind of more of like he's just in there for somebody for Kevin Owens to face. He's not really going to be in there. But I can even see Dirty Dominic Mysterio doing this. Like I can somehow see that with the help of the Bloodline, he gets belt, and he and Mommy are now going around as a force with the Judgment Day, just having all the gold.
Is it Kevin Owens that Dom is facing
It is,
in the
yes.
qualifier? Damn,
Mm-hmm.
dude. So, yeah, that's good. See, it's so good because you don't know, and they all deserve it. You know, we've
I
we've
mean, some of the stuff I can see where it's going. Because like Bobby Lashley taking on Big Bronson Reed, either of those people could take it.
Yep.
Like okay, that's cool. Dominic Mysterio versus Kevin Owens, either of those people could take it. That's cool. But if LA Knight's taking on Ivar, like come on, we know it's going to be LA. Like
Right.
Ivar's not going to be. He's not going to be the elimination champ. He's not. Come on, and if he is, why? Like, is he just there because you needed a last person just to say that someone was in there? But I don't know.
I do wonder what Bianca Belair is going to do at WrestleMania. I was hoping to see
Yeah,
a triple threat with Becky, Rhea, and Bianca, but I don't know how they could pull that off considering the chamber is for the shot at Rhea. Can you
I
have a
think
double
I think
winner?
that Bianca. I mean, I think there's going to be Bianca, honestly, because I mean she's got to keep her streak, right? Like she's got to go into WrestleMania. So
And you
and she
think she
can't.
beats Mommy? Or you think Mommy gives her first loss to further solidify herself? I'm not done with Rhea as champ.
I'm not. I mean, I know that she would have held the belt for over a year by the time she gets out of WrestleMania, but I'm not done with her as champion because unlike Roman, she's actually doing stuff with the belt.
Every
Like
week. Yes, every week she's on TV.
And she's at least doing something. You know, she's not defending it. She's coming out and asserting her dominance. You're seeing her walk out with, Finn or JD or something. You're seeing it. So yeah, I'm not done it for yet. So I guess if that's the case, then
Becky.
uh, see
I think we're headed for Becky. That's why they had the face-off at the press conference.
But you see, that's where the double whammy comes from then, because then you do say, okay, we get Becky and Rhea, so Rhea can beat Becky, and that's one of the top stars in the women's division. So you just prove that Mommy is, you know, she's always on top. She is what she says she is. But then you don't give anything to Bianca because she can't challenge Io.
I think Bianca maybe faces Jade. I think maybe some sort of Bianca Jade rivalry starts inside of the chamber.
Maybe, but I mean, if you do a Jade Cargill thing, you have to make her look good. So that
she has to win.
To
exactly.
Yeah.
How else do you propel Jade into superstardom than beating the undefeated Bianca Belair? I think that's why Bianca came out and talked about being undefeated. So I'm thinking we're going to see Rhea Becky and then Jade beat frickin' Bianca and destroy her undefeated streak at WrestleMania and really launch herself into I'm that bitch.
I can see that. I can work with that. I just kind of feel bad for people that lose their streaks or they lose their, whatever. I kind of feel bad for that.
I love Bianca. But I am a huge Bianca fan. And I've been wanting Bianca versus Rhea for years. For years I've been wanting that at Mania. So to get it would be amazing. So I'm 100% on board with a Bianca Rhea match. I mean, I think that could main event night one.
Yeah. Whew, so much to think about.
It's a good problem to have, man.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff. And then let's see, what else do we have going on? There was something that was just in my head a moment ago that I suddenly have forgotten. Because, obviously we know that with the Nia Jax match at Perth, Rhea's winning that. I mean, it's Australia.
Yep.
There's no way you're going to send her to Australia to defend her belt and not make her look good. So, all there is WrestleMania. So, number one contenders, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, probably don't stand a chance against Judgment Day. So, but if it's not them that face them at WrestleMania, who would face them at WrestleMania, and do you think they would win? Who would take on the Damian Priest and
Gargano and Ciampa? Triple H loves Gargano and Ciampa, man. Triple H loves DIY. When he had them in NXT, they ran that show for a couple years. They were the cornerstone building block of that show for a couple years. Ciampa's run as NXT champion is one of the best things we've ever seen. The matches Ciampa and Gargano had against each other is just some of the most incredible stuff you've ever seen. So I think Triple H is going to pay them back for how Vince has treated them since they came up to the main roster and build them into the stars he knows they really are. Because they really haven't had a good go of it over the last year and a half.
Okay. I was thinking maybe the Creed brothers, but that could always be down the road. I mean, there's some good tag teams. So
I will tell you that the Creed brothers was the most impressive part of the house show here in town.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good, because sometimes a good tag team match is all you need.
Julius Creed is an absolute physical specimen, dude. The athleticism and strength of that man is insane. I could see him being a single star. major single star Randy Orton type good in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, maybe down the road. Yeah, I think they need to get a little bit.
Yeah, we're talking future, like 5 years from now.
Yeah, we need to do like the Usos. We need to maybe have them hold the belts for a while, get established as, we're a really big deal when it comes to being a tag team. But now we're going to split.
Yeah, they're in their mid-20s. They've got plenty of time.
Exactly. Plenty of time. But did you hear people on SmackDown saying, we want truth?
Yeah, that chant was wild, man. I told you, he's the Sammy of 2024. He's going to get himself into a title picture. He's not going to win it, but he will be having a title match before this year's over.
I mean, that would just be interesting. I mean, what if somehow he's the one who beats Gunther? Like, just somehow, through some weird way, he gets the Intercontinental belt. Like, that's
Dude.
That's or yes, he could. I mean, because they can show up anywhere. So I mean, he could technically even defeat Logan Paul for the U.S. belt. Because I mean, they can really show up on any show they want. But
and he's gonna think he's gonna think he's in a match for a different title. How do you? He'll be in an Intercontinental title match and he'll be talking about going for the heavyweight championship or something,
Yeah, because because he'll see the size of Gunther and be like, "You're not the heavyweight champ."
Just like at Royal Rumble, he's like, "You're gonna tell me those aren't men in there?" That is so funny, man. Yeah, I could see Truth getting some gold. Some mid-card gold this year.
I almost feel like there needs to be a third belt. Like, you can even bring back the 24/7 belt. That's fine. But there just needs to be, like, a third belt, a third option. Be like, okay, we got a mid-carder, and then we got, the main eventer, and then we got, like, a third option that's just there for, like, you can do a people's champion kind of thing if you want, where it's like, this is something that if people are behind, they still show up, they still do house shows, they still defend it, but it's not as big of a deal as, like, the big belt. It's just, it's kind of there.
That would be interesting.
I think we need to do a third belt. But yeah, all kinds of good stuff with wrestling, all kinds of good stuff with video games. I think we've had a fairly healthy discussion here tonight. How long are we on the clock for? Are we doing this for a couple of hours?
2 hours.
Yeah, that feels about right. That feels about right. I love doing this stuff with you, man. I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, man, it was fun.
Was there anything else we needed to touch on? Anything that we need to talk about, or anything that you're just thinking of on top of your head?
Man, I think we've touched on all the good stuff.
Yeah, some not so good stuff. Kind of threw some doom and gloom out there when it came to the AI. So
yeah, I know it's a reality, man. We got to tackle reality on this show. We're not afraid of the tough subjects here on the Rewind.
I will not be afraid of my eventual AI overlords, but just do remember that I have a degree in tech, and you're gonna need me to keep you uploaded to the servers and to keep you updated, right? So you don't want you want to keep me around.
Yep.
You want to keep us tech guys around because we're gonna be useful. That's all I'll say about that. But yeah. It's been a great topic, and I hope that anybody that is watching this, I'm so sorry if we bored you for the last couple of hours, but if you did enjoy us, feel free to leave a like I said, throw comments down there, and check out my man Deuce. If he does decide to do more wrestling content, I think it's going to be entertaining. Believe it or not, my wife actually says she heard your voice the other day, and she said that you have a radio voice. So
very nice.
Yeah. So who knows? You could probably do radio. You could probably just go and this is WK912.
Maybe that's my calling, man.
Maybe you can do radio eventually. Yeah. So certainly not with my voice. No. I got too weird of a voice to do it, but I do say that I do love talking about tech, and that's the only reason why I do this. So thank you for joining us here on the Rewind. As always, guys, it's just great having a discussion with anybody that watches it. And it's always fun talking with my man Michael over here. He's just a great guy to know. But I think we're going to go ahead and just cut the rewind here now, because if that's going to be it, then whenever we do this again next, we'll probably have a good 2 or 3 months worth of stuff, depending upon whenever we do go back to talk about it. And hopefully you'll join us for the next one. Until then, though, have a good one, everyone. See you
Bye,
next time.
everybody.